Hi everyone, it's Gina K from Gina K Designs and welcome to Stamp and Chat. I am so glad to see so many of you here. Looks like we have folks from all over the world joining me tonight and I am just thrilled to see you all. Well, tonight we have a topic like we usually do. And let me see, I decided to create a little banner here so we could talk about the topic. So tonight's topic is feeling helpless. And I think we feel more and more helpless and sometimes hopeless too, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I think as every day goes on, we feel bigger and like this, everything's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And sometimes it's really hard. And I said this the other night, I feel like we're constantly trying to swim upstream and it's really hard for a fish to swim against the current. And just sometimes you have to just let yourself go with the current and give yourself a break. So sometimes emotions build up, right? So the little problems of every day and the little things that happen to us every day can really start to feel big. And let me give you a mental visual of what I'm talking about. So let's say you have a cup and you have a problem. And that problem is like a little bit of water and you pour it into the cup. Well, you've got lots of room in there to handle that problem. And then something else comes on later in the day and it gets poured into the cup and you're still okay. You know, you're handling it. You've got lots of room. You're kind of refreshed and you're doing okay. But what happens if 3 or 4 days go by and all of a sudden that cup is completely full? Then the tiniest little issue could come along and you pour it in the cup and what happens? It overflows everywhere, right? You have to empty your cup. Once in a while, you have to empty the cup. You know, holding stuff in, and I think we all do that, holding stuff in is like holding stuff up. And I heard a professor say that if I gave you a glass of water to hold, and I said, can you hold that for me for a minute? You would say, sure. And you'd hold it, and then she would take it back, and that'd be fine. It would be like you're holding up a cup of water. It's not a big deal. But if somebody said, can you hold this for 4 hours? By the end of the 4 hours, your arm's going to start to hurt a little bit. If I said to you, can you hold it for 4 days? Well, then all of a sudden you're going to start to shake. You're going to start to get nerve damage. You're going to start to feel it in your shoulder and in your neck. Sometimes it's not how heavy something is, but it's how long you hold it. Sometimes we just have to put it down. We can't be afraid to feel like if we put our problems down for a little bit, that somehow we lose control over them. That's not the way it works. It works just the opposite. The longer we hold on to things and we never put them down, the more ill-equipped we become to handle them properly without doing damage. So tonight, I'd like to welcome you to Stamp and Chat. I'd like you to just put your cup down for a little while and just relax and enjoy some crafting time with me. I promise the cup will be there later if you need to pick it up again. So tonight, I thought I would show you a few inking techniques. And I have a couple of stamp sets here that I want to show you. The first stamp set I'm going to be using is Wild Blossoms. Now, I used this stamp set before. Let me move this banner out of the way. All right, there we go. And let me go to the overhead. So I'm going to be using the Wild Blossom stamp set, and I use this on another Stamp and Chat. So some of you might already have this set. I know lots of you already have this set because it's been in our collection for a long time. I'm also going to use the Sentimental Bouquet stamp set, and this is a really great starter stamp set because it's got some beautiful florals in here, so you can use it in your Wreath Builder or you can use it to make floral patterns and backgrounds. It also has a It's kind of like a square blotch kind of stamp. So you can do a real pale square background and then stamp flowers on top of it. And I also like the greetings because it's got a little bit of everything. So if you're a new stamper, this might be a fantastic stamp set for you to get started with, because it's got get well, thinking of you, thank you, happy birthday, and with sympathy. So that's a really nice all-around set. Now, I don't know what stamps I'm going to use tonight, so I also grabbed Lovely Words. I might use that. I might use our Friendship Flower Incentive Stamp set, because I know some of you actually have more than one of these, and you've been sharing them with your friends. So we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to show you a couple of stamping techniques that are inking techniques, really. Now, you may have seen me do these in other videos, but tonight we'll try doing a couple of fun cards using some of those techniques. So I'm going to go back to the full screen. And I know the other night, I'm sorry, we were trying to go full screen and you guys were telling me in the chat and I never looked up. So I'm going to try to keep it on full screen as much as possible tonight. So I'm going to start with, I'm using my Misty just kind of as my workspace right now. So I'm going to just start with a piece of white cardstock. And the first inking technique I'm going to do is called rock and roll. So that might be an old technique for some of you, but for some of our newer stampers, it might be a new one. So the ink pads that I'm going to use are Tangerine Twist, and I'm going to use some red velvet. And while I am getting my stamp ready, I would just like to do a quick welcome and shout out to all of you who are still coming in. It's great to see you. Just so that you know, tonight's topic is Feel Helpless. And I did a little bit of a talk beforehand, and if you want to watch the replay, you'll hear all of that. And I also have a quote for you at the end of the night. Okay, so I'm going to take this little acrylic block, and I'm going to use this flower right here, and I'm going to put it on the acrylic block. Now for rock and roll, you want to use probably an ink pad is a little easier, but I've done it with ink cubes, so it shouldn't be a problem if you want to use ink cubes for it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ink up my stamp with the lighter color first, the orange, and then I'm going to roll the edges of the stamp onto my red velvet ink pad. So just like that. So it's just really hitting the edges of the stamp. And then I'm going to stamp that right in the middle. Oops, let's see if I can I do it? Yeah, I can do it. Okay. So I'm going to get the tidy towel because you definitely want to keep this clean when you're working with a stamp and you're doing two colors. So I'm going to ink that up again with some of this Tangerine Twist. And again, I'm going to roll the edges and then I'm going to stamp it up here. So you can see, I hope that you can see that. Can you see that the edges are a little bit darker? It's just a two-tone look. And it's really fun to do with floral stamps or any solid, small, roundish type of stamp. So I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to stamp that right up here. Now let's see. Okay, so I'm going to take this stamp off, and then I am going to find a leaf stamp, and then I'm going to use two different colors. Now for this technique, I really do like to use ink cubes because I like to stamp directly onto, I like to ink directly onto the stamp. And then I like to use a very light color and then a darker color. So I'm using a very light green, the Applemint, and I'm going to ink that up with some Applemint. And then I'm going to use some Turquoise Sea, and I'm just going to tap onto the one side a little bit. And I like to use the lighter color first because then it doesn't contaminate the pad. And you see how that's a two-tone look? You have a little bit of green and a little bit of blue, green, and then it goes into the blue. So again, I'm going to clean the stamp each time, and then I'm going to ink it up with the Applemint. And then I'm going to just, I like to move it around too where I add the second color. So I'm going to do this one right here, like that. Then I'm going to go back with the Applemint, and maybe I'll bring it down here more toward the stem, and I will add that up here. And I'm kind of doing a waterfall, and it gives it a little bit of a watercolor look. I'm going to do like a waterfall where it's just kind of coming down across an angle on the card. So I'm going to do a leaf here. And if you don't dry the stamp in between, you get that watercolory look, and I really like that. So we'll do, I want to do one here off of this flower. A little bit more Applemint and a little bit more blue. We'll do that here. And then I think I'll do one more here, and then we're going to add a few more other flowers. And you can use all different kinds of flowers. You might have flowers in your collection from different stamp sets that will look really nice together. So I'm going to show you, I have a stamp set that I really like that I think will match this flower very well. And that is the original Wreath Builder. And I know you guys have this stamp set. Mine is so beat up. Look at this thing. But this flower down here at the bottom that's stained really red, and this tiny flower, I think look really nice with the flower from Sentimental Bouquet. And there's nothing wrong with mixing and matching your stamp sets. Also mixing and matching stamp sets from other companies with our stamps. So this time I'm going to use a little bit of sweet mango and the red. So I'm going to move the red down here. I'm going to ink this up with some sweet mango and then rock and roll around the edges. I'm going to put one right in here. Don't they look like they should be in the same set? Okay, and we'll put one down here. And then I'm going to, maybe I'll put one up at the top there, and then I want to come in with a really tiny little stamp. Okay, I can't clean that one anymore. I've used red with it so much, I can't even tell you. It's just permanently stained red, but a stained stamp is a well-loved stamp, right? So now I'm going to use this tiny little flower, and I'm just going to stamp it directly with red. And I'm going to fill in little spots wherever I think it needs some filling in. Up here, maybe down here. All right. So this is just a nice graphic look, and I think a nice graphic look like this needs a nice graphic greeting. So when I do my videos, I tend to stick with just one stamp set or one or two stamp sets, but I'm having a lot of fun with my lives, mixing and matching lots of stamp sets together. So I grabbed the stitched leaves because I wanted to do something with this, this greeting. So if you haven't seen the stitched leaf stamp set, this is kind of a two-step stamp set with big leaves, and then it's got line art image leaves, but it's got these nice big words, thankful and friend. So I'm going to use friend. And I am going to put friend down here at the bottom of this card. I'm going to pick that up, and then I'm definitely going to use my Misty for this because this is a big, bold greeting, and it might need an extra time to stamp it or two. And I'm just going to check in with you guys and see how you're all doing, and welcome everyone. Okay. Yes, that somebody was talking about my pain, my acronym pain, or hope. Hope, the acronym, H-O-P-E, hold on, pain ends. That's right. Okay, we'll stamp that really well. Ooh, that looks pretty good. I don't think I have to stamp that a second time. But you know, if I didn't use the Misty, I would have had to stamp it a second time. So I'm glad I used the Misty. All right, and then let me get this stamp off of here. Well, I was digging through my box of little bits and pieces earlier today, and I found this little flag that I made. So here's the little flag. You're a wonderful. I just one night made a whole bunch of these. You're a wonderful, and thank you for being and then for your kindness, for all you do. I made a whole bunch of these, and then I figured if I needed one, it would be a really fast way to add something like that to my card. So I'm going to add that to this card. Before I do that, I want to assemble the whole card. So I'm going to use a piece of black cardstock. And for those of you that are counting, this is a 3.5 inch card by 4 3/4 of an inch. So 3.5 by 4 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to put it on a card base that's 1/8 of an inch bigger. And the way I measure that, I think I showed you in one of the other videos, but if you're new to my videos, the way I measure that is I go, so if my original card measurement was 3.5 and I want to do my black layer, I go to 3.5 and then I just go up 1/8 of an inch like that. So that would be the cut. And then if my original card, my white piece, is 4 3/4 of an inch, I go to 4 3/4 of an inch, and then I just move it up 1/8 of an inch. And that's the real easy way to cut this so it fits with that nice, tiny little skinny black layer. So I hope that made it a little bit easier. And yes, I've been talking about, we have a die set coming out that does that cut for you. It actually does the bigger version that I use in a lot of cards on Stamp TV. And in the future, we'll definitely do this one as well. But it's also got a lot of other really cool little little dies in there for other things. So that's going to be fun. If we ever get it, it will be fun. It's out there somewhere trying to get to us. Okay, so I'm going to layer that together. And then I'm going to put the whole thing on a white card base. And this card base is 11 inches long by 4 1/4. And then I scored it at 5.5 inches. And I'm going to put that right onto my card base. So this is just a fun little simple graphic card, but I think the black flag really jazzes it up. And I think it's just what it needs. Okay, so I'm going to apply that black flag using some foam tape. And I have this foam tape. This is the Gina K Designs and Thermoweb foam tape. I like it because it's thin. So when you're doing these flags, it's not too thick. But if it's too thick for a tiny, skinny little flag, you can always cut it down the center in half like I did with this piece. And I'm saving that for when I do something really small. So let's cut that and see if that'll be enough. It should be. Yeah, that'll be enough. We just need to pop it up. You can also use foam squares for this too. So if you don't have foam tape, don't worry, just use foam squares. Okay, so I'm going to put that on top right there. And then I'm going to add a little embellishment to this. I definitely think it needs a little bit of embellishment. And I could add sequins, but I think I'm going to use the crystalline drops. So this is the Ruby Pearl crystalline drop. And I'm going to use this for my project. Now, when you're using the crystalline drops, you want to use them straight. Let me just switch to the screen for a second here. So you want to use them straight up and down. You don't want to tilt it at an angle and put it on, because then when you pull it up, the little point is going to be on an angle. You want to hold it straight up and down and then pull it straight up. So I'll go back to full screen now for this. I wish I could zoom in, but I don't have that capability on this camera. But I'll show you up close, and I'll show you the side view. So I'm going to just do a squirt and pull straight up. I'm going to do a squirt on this one and pull straight up. I really like how quickly these little pearls level out. And they seem to level out really nicely too. So I'll show you the side view. Put one there, one there. I'm going to put one up here. Try not to shake. All right, so you can already see that they've started to level out, but let me give you the up close tilted view so you can see what I mean. So it does take them a little while to dry, so I might do this technique and just let the card dry overnight. But if you look at the side view, can you see how round those pearls are? They don't have points on them at all. Now, I don't want to do that too much because they level so easily that they definitely will still be leveling. So if you turn it to the side, everything's going to kind of drift off to the side. But that is something a little bit different. I've been using so many sequins and I thought I would use something different. So this is a really, really fun, quick and easy little card. I'm going to do the front view here just in case. I don't know which camera has better light, but here's the front view of the card. The light's a little whiter coming in from the front than the overhead. Okay, so that is my first card for the night. Now I'm going to decorate the inside of my second card because a lot of you have been asking me to do that, and I definitely want to do that. I should have decorated the inside of this card first, but I'll show you one way that I decorate the inside of a card, and then you guys can just kind of translate it to different cards. It's not really anything brilliant, but I know a lot of you are just kind of get stuck on what to do on the inside. So I'm going to put this behind me so I don't smush the pearls. And then I'm going to get another piece of cardstock here, and I know somewhere in this mess I have a misty corner. Here it is. So I'm going to put the corner this way. I'm going to see how that works. Maybe I'll put it this way. I really, see, I don't want to go too far in because I want to go above this. So if I flip the corner the other way, and I move my card down here and just line it up with a line, I think that might be better. So I'm going to try that and see if I can use this Wild Blossoms stamp set again. There's a lot of ways to use the corners. And if you go to the My Sweet Petunia, the Misty company, if you go to their page and look at their videos, you'll see all kinds of ways to use the Misty corners. Okay, so I'm going to use this gigantic stamp. And I'm going to place it right about here. Now, before I commit 100%, I just want to see if I have room here for a greeting that I want to use. So I could do Much Love, but that's not really going to fit. So let me look at our new incentive set. Well, it's not really new anymore, but it's kind of new. So You Inspire Me. How about You Make Me So Happy? I'm going to use this greeting. You Make Me So Happy. I think that'll be a good one. So I'm going to secure my card here. Then I'm going to pick up this stamp. But then I'm going to go back and I'm just going to straighten out my cardstock because the stamp is a little sticky. They're always sticky. Even after you've used them a lot, they still are sticky sometimes. Ooh, I just banged the front. I almost knocked the computer off my whole... contraption here. And if you saw how this is all set up, I have it on 2 brown cardboard boxes that don't have anything in them. So it's rickety to begin with. All right. So, oh, hi, Marilyn. Rena's doing great. Yeah, I know. My girls are giving me some, they're socially isolating because for those of you who don't know, I'm a type 1 diabetic. So I am insulin dependent. I take 2 kinds of insulin every day, and I wear a meter, a monitor thing. And so they know that I am very, very high risk. And they go to the grocery store and they do their thing. So they are giving me space because they don't want to get me sick. So they're doing just fine. And hopefully this thing will get lifted soon and we'll all be back together stamping again. So that's got my fingers crossed for that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some fresh asparagus ink. And this is a nice dark olivey green. I love this green. And I'm going to stamp the vine with this green. Now, you guys saw me use this stamp last week or the week before. I'm starting to lose track now. But you saw me use it all in black to give kind of that silhouette look. Well, this one we're going to do in nice bright color. So I'm going to clean the stamp and get rid of it here. And let me close up my ink, because lately I've had a tendency to actually rest my elbow in the ink. And don't say you guys don't do that too, because I know we all do that. Okay, so now the next stamp that I'm going to use is I'm going to use this flower. I'm also going to use this flower down here, and then I'm going to use this little bud. So I'm just going to peel those off now. There's the little bud. Here's one flower, and of course there's this other flower too. They're both beautiful. It depends on how many flowers you're going to put on there, whether or not you need all of that. Now let me move this out of the way first so I can do a little demo for you here. So I'm going to take this flower, and I want to show you two different ways that you can do this technique. The first way is to use a light colored ink, and the ink that I'm going to use for this is Bubblegum Pink. Then I'm going to use a marker, and this is a Tombow water-based marker. It's number 743. They don't have names, they just have numbers, so 743. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this stamp up using the bubble gum, and then I'm going to take the marker and I'm going to just bounce some color onto the stamp. Okay, and you can see what this looks like. So that gives you, I'll hold it up a little bit closer because I know that's far away, unless you're watching me on YouTube on your living room, big screen television, which I really hope you're not, because you're probably really seeing all my wrinkles. So you can see what that looks like. It's got that pattern in it, but it's very random. So now if you don't have Tombow water-based markers, never fret. You can use just a paintbrush. Now I don't really have a paintbrush. I just have a water brush here, and you can use a water brush. Just don't put any water in it. It's going to be watery enough. And then I have an acrylic block. I'm just going to use the flat side. This side has etched lines in it, but this side is flat. So just find a flat acrylic block. You can also use your stamp sheet, you know, that top plastic sheet that comes in your stamp set. You can use that as well. It won't damage it. You just have to clean it off before you put it back on. And you can use some water-based Reinker. So I'm going to put just a little dot of water-based Reinker here. This is the Coral Reef Reinker for our Coral Reef color. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Sweet Mango and Coral Reef together. So I'm going to ink up the stamp with some Sweet Mango, and then I'm going to dip my water brush into the Coral Reef, and I'm just going to bounce a little bit of that color on here. Now this is going to give you a really watercolory look. Look how pretty that is. Can you see the texture, the different kind of gradient in that? But it's not as sharp as using a marker. It's more liquid and fluid, so it actually looks like watercolor. That's really a fun technique. Now, if you want a more drastic difference, really go with a much lighter color. For example, you could use Wild Dandelion with it. I'm going to use some Wild Dandelion here on this stamp. So I'm going to stamp that, and then I'm going to go back in. I don't even have to reload that Reinker. There's probably enough on there already. I'm just going to dab it on there and stamp. And that'll give you more of the look that we got with the other technique. So much more contrast. So that technique is actually called thumping, and I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel where I go much more in detail with it and do some extra techniques. So you can always look at my channel on YouTube and search the word thumping, and you will find that, or inking techniques. I have lots of different inking techniques as well. So that's a couple different ways to get that look. Now I'm going to use the marker way on my card project because I love that color combination. I really fell in love with that color combination, the Bubblegum Pink and this Tombow 743. And you could even go darker with a darker marker. I made a rhyme. Okay, now I'm going to go on a little crazy. So I'm going to just open that marker and have it ready to go. And then I'm going to ink that up with Bubblegum. And this stamp is designed that there's little empty stems here where you can put the flower heads on. So I'm going to bounce this marker around. You can see I turn the block when I do it, so it's not all the same direction. And I'm going to stamp that right there. Okay. Now I'm going to clean it again. And then I'm going to ink it up again with Bubblegum. And I'm going to bounce that marker on there. And some will be darker than others. And I'll put this one right here. Right there. So let's see what else I can do. I'm going to use this bigger stamp now. This bigger flower. I'm going to put that one right there. So again, I'm inking it up with Bubblegum. And then I am bouncing this marker all over. Thump, 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 thump. And I'm going to stamp that right here. So you can see just having those couple different flowers definitely gives it a different look. Let's see. I'll put one here, but I'll turn it a little bit. And then I'll thump on this. And we'll place that right in there. Okay. Now I want to add some of the little buds. So, and these can go anywhere. It doesn't even have to really have like a little empty stick. You can kind of add them in wherever you think they would fit. So I'm going to thump on that a little bit. And then I will add one right here. I'll do a little more thumping. Ooh, you know what? I could put one here upside down. I'm going to do that. Not a bud, though. I'm going to put a big flower there. So I think I'll add a little bud right in here. Let me get the bigger flower again. I think I want to do an upside down one, kind of going off the paper like there. So I'm going to move this. This doesn't need to stay here anymore. I'm going to move it in. Okay. So let's do an upside down one here because that looks like a stick. I don't know if it is, but I think it is. And I'll thump on that. And then this will go upside down right off of that. And that'll fill in that corner beautifully. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, back to the little bud. I think I could put something like in here. I feel like it needs a little shot of pink in there. Maybe right in here. Will it fit? I'm going to try it. Oh, yeah. So that looks pretty spread out well. What do you guys think? I don't think I should tempt fate unless I hung one little bud from maybe up in here. Yeah, I'll do that. Because that's just kind of hanging out there and it needs something. So we'll put one right there. There we go. Okay. So I think that does it. I think that's plenty of pink and it's really pretty. I like the color combination of that pink and that dark green. So I'll hold that up a little bit closer so that you can see the details. Just don't look at my nails because they haven't been done for, I don't know, 20 years it feels like, right? So there you can see that detail a little bit better. All right, let me clean this Misty off here. And then it's going to be time to add the greeting. And there's no way I'm going to allow myself to mess this up. So I will be using the Misty for my greeting. I'll put it up here. And I think I was going to use You Make Me So Happy. Let's see what that looks like. You Make Me So Happy. I could also put So Glad We Are Friends in there. You Make Me So Happy. You Inspire Me would fit if I really snuck it in there. You Inspire Me. I think that might be a little big. So this layout definitely calls for a small greeting, which is nice because we have so many small greetings in our collections. Could be a birthday card. It could be thank you. It could be hello, friend. But I think I'm going to use You Make Me So Happy. No, now it's small. Let me see. So Glad We're Friends. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be better. So Glad We're Friends. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I should be asking your opinion, but I think I'm going to go with this. So, and I can always use a card that says, So Glad We're Friends. Because there's so many people in our, see my little smudge there? Got to get my mono sand eraser to the rescue. I think I'll do that now. And you know, if you haven't used a mono sand eraser or you never saw me use it before, one little trick that I learned is instead of just going in one direction, go up and down, but then go side to side too, because you actually start scratching lines in it. And then when you file it the other way, it really helps to remove the smudge quicker, and there's not as much of a chance that you're gonna like go right through the paper. Okay. Sometimes I get ink on my purple tape that I put on here. So, okay, I'm gonna use black ink, of course. Me and my black ink. Okay, and then I'm gonna stamp that right there. Oh yes, that looks good. And I think I'm gonna stamp it again just on this side because I think I stamped a little heavy on the one side. So we'll press a little more there. Okay, So Glad We Are Friends. I like this little incentive set. If you guys didn't get it yet, it's yours free with $75. And I know a lot of you have been asking if we're going to change the incentive soon. And I know that we have one coming. I just don't know when anybody's going back to work to manufacture stuff for us. But hopefully soon. Okay, so let me pick that up. And then I'm going to put that onto a black piece of cardstock. Like that. Okay. Let's tape that. I did get another roll of tape. I don't know. I know people were hoarding toilet paper, but I think it's way more important to hoard tape. I don't like to be without tape. All right, there we go. Okay, and then this whole thing will go on another white card base. So I'll put that there, yeah. That makes everything pop out, right? It always does. Okay. So I will tape that on there, and then we'll do something on the inside. So you can either repeat the same kind of pattern on the inside if you want. And you know who always does the insides of their cards is Karen Hightower. She's our design team coordinator, and she always makes beautiful cards, as does all of our design team members, as do all of our design team members. But she is just one that always decorates the inside of the cards. So if you look at her cards and you see them kind of sitting, let me go to this screen here, get my mouse out of the way. Here we go. So if you see the cards sitting up in her photo like this, you can always see her decorated inside just peeking out. And I always want to see the inside of what she does because she's quite amazing. Okay, so back to this view. So now what I'm going to do is I have a piece of cardstock somewhere in this mess. I don't know where I put it though. All right, we'll use this one here. So I have another piece of cardstock about the same size. Yep, that's the same size. So it's 3.5 by 4 3/4, and then this one is 1/8 of an inch bigger. Now for this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just do something really super subtle. So since I have pink on that outside, I've got the bubble gum. I'm going to use bubble gum again, and then I'm going to use one of the other images from the stamp set, and I'm going to use this one here, this tall flower. The name of the stamp set with the vine is called Wild Blossoms. I do think after my last live, we sold out, but we do have on our website where you can click a button that says notify me. And if you click that button, as soon as it comes back in stock, you'll get an email immediately before anybody else even knows it comes in stock. You'll get the email. So I would definitely recommend doing that. And this one has been on order for a while, so it should be coming soon. Okay. The other thing is our stamp company that manufactures our stamps. I know they're still working because they also make masks for the medical industry, which is really cool. So I'm going to put a piece of cardstock right here. And I'm going to ink up this stamp with some Bubblegum Pink. I put an additional piece of cardstock there. And I'm going to stamp it once. And then I'm going to stamp it again. Let's see if we can get that ink to transfer. So you see how super light? It's almost like a watermark. Now you can go full strength if you want. So I'll do that too. I could even thump on that to make it match. Why don't I try that and see what that looks like? So I'm going to take the marker and I'm going to thump all over it. I know you can't really see this, but let me see if I can get it in there. All the way down. And then I'll stamp it again, make sure it's up in that corner. Oh, that's pretty. I gotta show you that up close. Isn't that pretty? All the detail you get in that. Oh, I love that. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that like that. Now, for those of you that don't wanna put a greeting in, and maybe you like to handwrite your greetings, I do that a lot because I really personalize my cards for people. So I don't necessarily always want a stock greeting in there, but let's say you do want a greeting. This stamp set is called Assorted Greetings. So it's got these front greetings, like with sympathy, get well soon, thank you, and thinking of you. And then it's got these inside greetings. So let's say, you're making a sympathy card. This goes on the outside, and then inside, thoughts and prayers are with you during this difficult time. So I'm going to use on the inside greeting, you always bring a smile to my face, or I could use, I don't know what I would do without you. So glad we're friends. You always bring a smile to my face. So glad we're friends. I don't know what I'd do without you. I think I'm going to go with, I don't know what I'd do without you. Either one would work. So I thought I had this stamp set, and I think I had it way back when we used to do stamps in rubber. So I'm going to put that right there. I don't know what I'd do without you. And I'll put it right kind of in the middle here, right kind of wedged in. That looks pretty good. Sometimes I actually prefer when my stamps are stained because I can see if they're straight. You feel me? All right. So we'll stamp this. I don't know what I would do without you. There we go. So that's a nice inside greeting. It also gives me a little bit of room to write a message down below or up above. But if I don't necessarily really want to write a whole message and I just want to send a quick card out to somebody that I'm thinking about, that would be a great inside greeting. All right, so when I do the insides of my cards, I like to mimic the outside layering of the card. When I do that, then I will tend to use the layering white for my card base, because then when I use 2 more layers inside, the whole card will become nice and thick, like I was using a heavy base weight, but the card won't be too thick or too heavy. Okay. So we have the outside. So glad we're friends. Boop. Put this on the inside. I don't know what I would do without you. So maybe I'll make one more inside panel for my other card, And then I'll put it in once the crystalline drops dry. So there is my little card. And then, of course, I know a lot of you have gone to Magnuson Custom Stamps or Bossy Jossie, and you've had a custom stamp made for the back. You can always put your custom stamp on the back. I had one made, so I'll show you if I can find it. If it's sitting out, I'll show you what I do. I usually just open the card to stamp the back. And I have this that just says handmade by Gina K, and it's got Gina K designs on it. And so I'll get my black ink pad. Of course, you could do that in any color. I mean, I could do that just in a soft gray. Maybe, let me see what that looks like. Let me grab my little scrap piece of paper and see what the soft stone looks like. It's kind of nice. It's not too intrusive. So I think I'll use that. There we go. Handmade by Gina K. So there's my card. So for my other inside, let me see. I had some cardstock cut up over here. All right, this one's a little bit bigger, but I can still use it for the inside. So I'm going to go back. If you remember what that card looked like, you're a wonderful friend. So I think on the inside of that, since I have these little leaves, I think what I'll do is I'll go back to that same stamp set. And that was the Sentimental Bouquet. And I'll use that same stamp, but instead of doing the two-toned look, I think I'll just go with Applemint because Applemint is super soft. So what do I want to put on the inside of this card? Maybe I will use the other greeting. I will use the "You always bring a smile to my face." So let's go with some Applemint ink. And I'm going to start right in the middle here. And then I'm going to do one on each side facing the opposite direction. And the reason why I started in the middle is because if I'd started on one side, it would not look centered at all. So maybe I'll turn this one like this. There we go. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to my Misty. Let me move. I got to move this out of the way because I will slam the Misty right onto those crystalline drops. I know you guys are all going, yup. I do that too. Okay. And then you always bring a smile to my face. I'm going to put it right on top and see how that looks. I hope you can see it. But we'll give it a try and see what it is. You should be able to see it because it's black. Let me not take my whole stamp set with me like I did before. Remember that night? I had to remake the card. There we go. You always bring a smile to my face. There, you can see it. You always bring a smile to my face. Now, you can always stamp that Applemint off once to go even lighter. But once that ink dries, it's going to dry up quite a bit lighter because all of our inks dry very, very soft. Not necessarily, you know, the wrong color. They will match the cardstock, but they always seem to look a little darker than the cardstock when you first stamp them. And that's just because they're wet. Okay, so now I'm going to put that onto the black panel. So everything I do, guys, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you know that I'm simple. I like clean and simple. I just like that whole look. I also like to put layers together straight. That doesn't always happen. But, you know, I like that clean and simple look. So I always think less is more. It doesn't have to be really complicated to be pretty. And then that will go inside this card. And this has a wider border, so it gives me a little more room to write. And that will just go inside just like that. There we go. So that's kind of the way I like to decorate the insides of my cards, but definitely check out Karen Hightower's blog. Check out some of her videos. Most of her videos, she also decorates the inside of the card, so she has some really great ideas. I also have a video called, I don't know what it's called. I will look for it and I will link it, but it shows you how I decorate the insides of the cards. So here are my 2 finished cards for the night. Let me move that over there, and then I'll move this one without smearing. So there's a couple fun little inking techniques to try. Very clean and simple cards and some inside ideas. And I'll try to take pictures of the insides as well and post them. So let me go over here and say hi, everybody. It's so great to see you all. So tonight's topic, once again, let me find the topic banner here. Tonight's topic was feeling hopeless. So remember, we have to empty our cups and we have to put them down once in a while, because when we hold things too long, something very light can become very, very heavy. So my quote for tonight is a simple one, and I guess a little bit early tonight. My quote for tonight is a simple one, and it's, I think you guys are going to kind of feel the same way that I feel, that you get into these times where it seems like so many different things are happening, and they all start to feel overwhelming because they're all happening at once. I'll tell you one little sad thing that happened to us this week. We found out that our little Teddy, and you guys know my little puppy Teddy. Well, Teddy is 17 years old. She's been with us. She's moved with us 4 times. Tom and I were talking about it. She's been through 4 different homes with us. We got her right when Rena started school. So I think Rena was just at the end of her kindergarten year, or the beginning of 1st grade. Well, we found out that Teddy has a tumor. She has a tumor on her tongue. And we thought it was just infected because it was swollen. And you know how old dogs have bad teeth, and we thought maybe she bit it or something. But the vet said, oh, I've never really seen an infected tongue like that, and I think it's a tumor the way it looks. We're not doing anything other than keeping her comfortable. She is 17, and I don't even think that she would be able to have surgery if that was even a possibility. But it was just another thing that piled up on top of me this week with all the other things going on. And I heard myself say, why is this all happening to me? Why is it happening to me? And I'm sure you've all said that, right? But my quote for tonight is, when you replace why is this happening to me with what is this trying to teach me, everything shifts. So now I'm looking at it, and instead of being, I mean, of course, we're devastated. We love Teddy, but I'm also trying to think about all of the good things. I'm focusing my energy on thinking about the good stuff and the wonderful little puppy that she was, and the wonderful dog that she was, and how the kids had fun with her. She was always the topic of laughs and conversation when we were all in the room together. Both of my girls cried into her back many nights when they were sad about different things, and she just sat there, and you know, they're part of our family. I'm trying to think about, what are these things in life that are happening? What are they trying to teach me? Instead of why is this happening to me? What is this trying to teach me? And when I think in that direction, everything does shift. And I think a little bit more about the good stuff and a little bit more about the bad stuff. I put my cup down, I empty it out, and I allow myself to just let go for a little bit. I hope you guys did that with me tonight. I hope you had a wonderful time here. I sure had a great time with you. This has been the highlight of my day. We have Flashback Friday coming on Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, so I hope you'll join me for that. Don't forget to wear your pajamas. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do some card making. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I usually don't know until pretty close to the time that I'm ready to do it, but I will let you know, definitely. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hang in there. I love you all, and I will see you again really soon. Bye-bye.